DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. We just had on Cam Mellor from the College Football Network, a wide-ranging discussion of college football. And PK, there was one thing that caught your mind, or caught your ear, as I tried to do two things at once and fail.
Well, at least you failed safely, though. That could be very dangerous.
DJ and PK brought to you in part by Lumen Technologies. Your life moves fast. Quantum Fiber Internet is faster. Move up to tomorrow's speed today. Go to quantumfiber.com. That's quantumfiber.com.
The opportunity of the Big 12, what's it going to be its rep? It remains to be seen because it's brand new, right? It's brand new last year. It's brand newer this year.
Mm-hmm.
And as it tries to...
I like that, by the way. That was good.
Negotiate the landscape of where it fits in. There's only four of yous, so are you third? That's the big goal for the ACC and the Big 12. But what do you mean by third? How you can be third, but if there's a tremendous gap between 1, 2, and 3, what's the difference if you're third? Right? You got to be third, but be knocking on the door of moving up and be in the realm. There can't be this massive gap.
Should we be more negative than that? You're going to be the Big 12 champ, whoever you turns out to be, right? Utah's a preseason pick, but if it's somebody else, whoever the Big 12 champ is, can they beat the runner-up from the SEC or the Big 10? Because I think that's who they're going to meet in the quarterfinals. They get a bye through the round of 12. They'll play in the quarters. If they get knocked out right then, it'll be like, see, there's really only two leagues.
Sure, but part of the deal is getting multiples in there to double your odds.
Yep.
And
give
maybe
you another chance to win.
Yeah. And so will they have a dominant team? And will that dominant team be able to get its credit for being a dominant team?
There we go. The answer
that's the issue.
That's the easier question to answer. No, they won't get credit. Are they going to have the sparkling record? That is hard to know sitting here right now, and that's why we watch the games, because we don't really know.
I believe it can be achieved.
The schedule is set up so it can be achieved. There's enough of the big top teams that don't play each other. Kansas and Arizona caught pretty good schedules.
So that's where I'm going. I think Utah did too. That's where I'm going with this, is that they very well could have a team with a record that dictates dominance. But will they receive credit? Cam Mellor just brought up Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, if you get a cake schedule, though,
if you're 11
are you
and 1,
going to receive the credit?
If you're 11-1 and the loss is to Utah, then Paul Feinbaum's going to go on TV and say they didn't beat anybody. He's gonna
drop a stink bomb.
There you go. Feinbaum, stink bomb. Nice.
Yeah, he did it a couple years back. You see who Utah really got under my skin when he said that. I wanted to rip his hair out.
Just a little.
Yeah, he didn't have much hair.
He's just got a quarter inch of hair over his ear.
I often wondered, what would I do if I was in that situation where I just had it on the sides and I got nothing on top? Do I go all the way? Do I just admit, hey, it didn't work out for me and do it? I don't know. I'm not
so do
in
you
that
go to
position.
the shaved head or do you stay where Paul is? Or you got option 3, get a rug. Or hair implants.
I don't really see that much anymore.
I didn't know this is a thing. I just saw a headline that people are flying to Turkey for hair implants. Super cheap. Like, well, yeah, but you got to fly to Turkey. Doesn't that offset the cost?
Well, I mean, you got an opportunity to visit Istanbul, maybe.
Yes,
I mean, you gotta
go to the Grand Bazaar. Come on,
you gotta combine it. You just don't run over there to get a do and come back. Make a trip out of it. So when you come back, you're a new man. But you look at, I just went to College Football News, right, and wrote down the degree of difficulties and strength of schedules. So the U of A is coming in at 59. That's not good.
Right.
So you wonder if they, and I guess, with their offense and all, and they're capable of doing it, certainly within the conversation of doing it. To what degree are they easier or a little more likely than the other Arizona or Utah, Oklahoma State, whatever? That's up for debate. But they belong in that conversation. There's no question about it. But if they do that, will they get credit? And I just did a quick look. The best or the toughest strength of schedule. No, excuse me, back up. The easiest strength of schedule is Kansas State at 26. You got in the bottom, in the toughest, the top 10, you got 3. You got Colorado, Houston, and ASU. 3 teams are expected to be at the bottom. That's probably contributing a little bit to their strength of schedule issues, is they're not expected to be any good. All right.
And they drew the top 4 or 5 teams in the league.
Yeah, I just don't know that that's the way to go. So you got Kansas State at 26, Oklahoma State at 28, and then there's a gap there. Utah is 37, and then there's another gap to the rest of them. So then you start with Kansas at 49, Iowa State 51, UCF 56, U of A already said 59, then Texas Tech at 60. So you only got one school in the 30s, and that's Utah at 37. And Utah gets a lot of run, deservedly so. We've been over it a million times. But you just wonder if that's going to come back. It will bite the individual school if they don't get in. The winner gets in, so you got that automatic thing. You don't have to worry about that. But I'm wondering, as a conference as a whole, if we get into November, and we're not playing big games because these teams aren't good enough. So you go a little top-heavy, but it's viewed as a little weak top-heavy. And then I know what people will say, well, wait a second, man. You got Alabama playing the Citadel, and they're having tune-ups before they play Auburn, and Auburn isn't that good. But I get that, but it's all about rep. And the SEC's got rep in spades. They don't have to apologize. They know Paul isn't dropping a stink bomb saying nobody wants to see Alabama. Well, the fact is everybody wants to see Alabama, according to his line of thinking and his view. We may think differently over here, but we're in the minority, buried out here in the West, 8 hours away from anybody. And so it doesn't really matter what we think. It's what the other folks, where there's tons of people in there, and what's that perception? And I'm just wondering if this perception of these teams not playing each other and not having big games, particularly in November, will it come back to bite you? You could obviously argue that Utah's biggest games are right off the bat.
Oklahoma State and Arizona are the first 2 conference games.
So you're getting them in September. Now, if you win, if the Utes go 2-0,
then
they can kind of put their feet up. And I've made the statement, if they go 2-0, assuming that they win the other 3, so they'd be 5-0, they'd be top 10, deservedly so, that they got a shot to run the table. But running the table, that's great for fun and all, but what does it get you as opposed to if you had a couple of losses and still won the conference? You don't get anything more. It wouldn't be the excitement of, we're going to the BCS, we're the BCS busters. You're going to be in, you're going to have to, if you go 12-0, you got to go 13-0.
Otherwise, you end up with a 7 seed or an 8 seed.
Yeah, to get something. To get more, to get the most out of it. I just wonder if this conference will get its bang for its buck by having the top teams not face each other. I guess it would be kind of cool then to have K-State versus Utah, whoever it might be, 2 teams that didn't play each other in the regular season. That would be fresh. But you're not going to argue if you have a rematch with Arizona. As long as you're in, you really care who's the other side? Probably not. You got to win that ball game either way. Or Oklahoma State for that matter, and I guess you can argue a neutral field, but then, oh, wait, it's in Dallas. That's just 5 hours away. We got 16 hours away. Come on, get out of town. That's not neutral and all that stuff. So you go back and forth on that. I don't know that this conference will get its credit. I'm wondering if it would have been better to stage some bigger games when college football really, really becomes the talk of the town. And I don't know that the Big 12 will have that at that time.
So does a 10-2 team that misses the conference title game get in? Or do you have to be an 11-win team to get in out of the Big 12? 11-2, you're the conference champ, you're in.
So you're 10-2 and you're not in the conference final?
Which I can see happening. I can see somebody being 7-2 in the league, losing a tiebreaker, and not being in the conference title game.
Well, does that team then get in over the runner-up? or are we assuming that the two teams that
that's
go?
interesting. What if
Because I don't know if they're going to get 3.
If
that
the
seems
runner-up
a long
is
stretch.
Yeah, well, how will they handle a runner-up who is 10-3? Now, if the runner-up goes in, if they can get 2 11-1 teams into the title game, then maybe they're both in. I'm with you. 3 is a stretch. That would be a weird year to get 3 in. Is it possible? Sure. Is it likely? No. There's not even a 50-50. I mean, it's a 10% chance, 15% chance to get 3 teams in. That'd be an odd year. If that happens once in the next 5 or 6 years, I would think that's the most you could hope for.
Yeah, if the conference is around in 5 or 6 years, but I get your
Right.
point.
I'm just going off TV contracts to the end of the decade. And if you can get out of them and break it up like Florida State's trying to do, good luck. One thing that we didn't have a chance to talk to Cam about, but I did read a thing that ESPN, and this makes sense, that ESPN will not do the automatic opt-in 2027 with the ACC. That at minimum, they'll be clawing money back, and maybe if Florida State and Clemson are out, they'll just walk away.
Clawing
money back.
Huh.
So that could start to trigger a whole round of speculation. Now, how long, it took Oklahoma and Texas a few years after they announced to finally get out. So it's an end of the decade kind of thing, I think, one way or another.
I think if there's a few big non-conference games, the Big 12 really needs to win those.
Well, there aren't many.
Like right off the bat.
I mean, does Oklahoma State, Arkansas count as they got to win it. I don't know that that's a big game, but you certainly can lose it.
Penn State at West Virginia.
That'd be good.
August 31st, 10 a.m. Big Fox. Isn't that what they call it?
Yep. To separate it from FS1.
Yeah. So
does Colorado, Nebraska count?
No.
Okay.
Colorado counts because it's Dion.
Yep.
But I don't see them. I don't see where they'll be in contention. And that's nothing against Dion. It's putting more realistic expectations on Dion. Allow the man time to build as you would anybody else. And they were putrid when they got Dion, right? So he needs time. If they win 5-6 ball games, that's a significant improvement in my mind. I mean, he didn't walk on water. He's a football coach. He's a celebrity. I get that. But when you show up at practice, it's not about he's a celebrity. He's a football coach with a football team trying to get better. I don't think they're going to be that good.
Kansas State and Utah, they're big non-conference games or conference games that don't count. So that's not going to give you a boost. You wouldn't think.
Well, I think Kansas State beating Arizona can that. Depending on how things shake out, I think that's a big game. I realize it's not towards conference standings, but you're likely to have ranked teams. And if you get 2 ranked teams going against each other in September, that's big because we don't have a lot of that.
Kansas' big game is Illinois. So as I look at contenders here, it's just a little thin on big wins. I mean, Kansas is better win it, obviously.
Well, everybody is.
Yeah.
I mean, Penn State, I called up their schedule. The next 2 games after that, they open with West Virginia, at West Virginia, and then it's Bowling Green and Kent State.
W and a W.
They really got to get a handle on this stuff.
Do they?
Yes, yes. The TV will demand it.
I hope so.
Oh, I know so.
Hasn't demanded it out of the SEC yet.
But the world has changed.
If nothing else, maybe they move conference games around. So we see more conference games week 2 and 3. Because you're right, they need better product to televise.
Yeah. Yeah, we get so excited about it. About midway through the second quarter, I'll be bored with SUU and Utah.
Yeah. It'll be a game. It'll be great. But it gets to 21-0, and then you're moving on.
Yeah, and then we're going to see Wilson get in there, and we're going to try to make 3-year judgments based on what he does against SUU.
Wilson and Caleb Lohner, right? Let's watch those guys. What have they got?
Well, Lohner's only got a one and done, right? So
yeah, he's got the one season.
He's a senior.
So whatever he does, there's no future in it for the program, maybe for himself. But this year, if Caleb Lohner never takes a snap,
Yeah.
they'll be great at tight end.
Yeah, they got a lot of talent there.
Yeah. So it doesn't even really matter from the team perspective. He's the true icing.
He's an intriguing story, but he's icing on the cake.
Yeah.
TCU's at Stanford and at SMU. Can TCU get a little run?
Mm-hmm. I mean, relatively speaking, that's as good as anybody's.
And TCU has a difficult draw in the conference. They play a lot of the teams that are ranked here in the preseason. K-State's the only one of the 5 they miss. So TCU's got a schedule where they could build a little something if they're good enough to win.
Although I didn't even see them at their schedule in the top 60. Maybe I overlooked it. I only went to 60. Maybe, but I could have gone past it. Maybe I wasn't thinking TCU. Maybe I was thinking TCU's in the WAC, aren't they?
What?
I don't know. I got to go back and see.
What is going on here?
TCU was in the 16-team
Yeah,
WAC.
they were.
Not relevant now, Your Honor. Not relevant.
I wonder if I missed TCU.
Yeah, they were in there for the 2 seasons that it existed, essentially.
Oh, okay. TCU. Yeah, I did miss TCU. They are at 20. So you're right. Their strength of schedule is 20. I missed them. I went right past TCU.
Hard to believe they're going to flourish with road games at Stanford, at SMU, at Kansas, at Utah. That's a tough road stretch. They have Oklahoma State and Arizona at home. That's a solid schedule.
I know why I didn't put TCU on the list is because I didn't consider them a contender.
Yeah,
and I was just listing
the contenders.
That's the point.
They're more a middle of the league team. They didn't get any preseason rankings. They didn't get any first place votes in the poll.
Yeah, because BYU's sitting there as 15th hardest schedule. It just seems maybe it'll play out in the way the conference wants it. Who am I to question Brett Yormark? No one questions Brett Yormark.
You do.
No, I don't.
Don't question the visionary.
No, I cannot. But to see that these teams, there's not enough games to be able to have. They knew full well who was going to be good, and it was an opportunity. It was a brand new schedule. You could have.
But it looks like they're trying to build glossy win-loss totals and not worry so much about the strength of schedule.
And I wonder how that's going to play out in the eyes of the voters. So it's still a dog and pony show to a degree. You can take care of it by getting the automatic bid. But to me, once you bring in judges, that leaves it open for debate.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone.